At this point, you're done doing the STMS import. But there are some very important follow-up steps. The user's guide for the program lists those follow-up steps, and I'm going to demonstrate them here in the next couple minutes. I'll log back into my program. And the first thing you can check after the import is your families. I'll click on the Families menu, and you can see that the 3 families I imported from my old records are set up here in the new program. What you should do with each family is select to edit that family, and you can see that the primary persons are set up. And each family will be set up to one specific tuition plan, so it adds them all to the same tuition or billing plan. You should go through each family and make sure that they have been assigned the correct billing plan. For example, if you give some of them discounted billing and some of them are standard or whatever the case, go through each family and specifically set their billing plan. Next, while you're on the family screen, you can click and edit each one of your students, and there are some specific things you want to do on each individual student. So here's Racer Loyalton. On this screen, it shows you that in the 2014-2015 school year, he is set as a senior. And then it shows you the past school years. He's a junior, sophomore, freshman. Go through each of your students and make sure that they're set for the appropriate grade levels in each of the past school years. If there's a problem with it, you can just click the student and change the grade level for one of those past years. The other thing you should do on the student is at least in the current school year, you can see that all the students are assigned to the admin. That's their supervisor. So the program just assigns all the students to that one user. If you have one supervisor who's over the upper level learning center and you have a lower learning center or kindergarten learning center, you should set the appropriate supervisor for each student on this screen. You don't have to do it for all the past school years, although you can if you want to. But you should at least set the appropriate supervisor for the current school year. When you're done with that, click Save and close the screen. You should also go through each one of your students and check to make sure all their subjects were imported correctly. So let's look through each of my 4 students. First, let's look at Becky McMurcy. Now, she was a first grade student in the old program. You can see that she's set as first grade here. And it shows the subjects that are set up for her in the current school year. Now, you can also check the past school years. If you go back to a previous school year, it shows you all the subjects that Becky did in the last school year. And Becky, who's in first grade now, just finished kindergarten. You can go to the kindergarten screen, and anyone who had kindergarten grades in the old program should have had those imported. So here's the imported grades for Becky. And there's the ABCs. You can check that as well. ABCs would import with the post-test score. So all of that looks correct. Let's look at our next student, which is Sandy McMurcy. And here's Sandy's grades that were copied over. At this point, if there was a problem, you can just make sure that it's not in a different school year, because each PACE is copied over based on the date in which it was completed. So it will go into each of the past school years appropriately. And at this point, if you want to give a student another subject for the new school year, you can click New Subject and add in all of your new subjects for them. Now let's look at a couple of high school students. I have 2 high school students. We have Racer. Racer is set up as an honors student. We'll wait for this to load here. Okay, so Racer is an honors student. At this point, you can check through to make sure that they get all of the appropriate credits, and you can set the credits down here at the bottom. So, for example, if trigonometry was supposed to be a full credit course, then you can change the credit at the bottom. Or if you want to change the name of the subject, you can right-click on it and change the name of the subject. Whatever you want to call your subjects, you can change the names here. So check through this and make sure that it matches what was imported from the old program. Make sure your records match. One thing you should do at this point is correct any of those errors that were listed in the STMS data import. So one of the errors I got was that Racer Loyalton's driver's education wasn't copied over. So I need to specifically add that. And to make that easier, let's pull up the School of Farm Management System. And like I said, you can run these side by side. There's no conflict with doing that. And we'll go here to Racer and find his driver's ed. So here's his driver's ed in the old program, and I need to now add this into the new program because that one subject had an error. To do that, on the progress control screen, click Add Completed Subject, and this wizard will come up. And we'll just click Next, and yes, we're going to do it for Racer. And here we can select the subject type. I'll just put it under Electives. And here, if we look through the list, we don't see an option for driver's ed, so we'll click New and type in driver's ed. Then you select if it's a transfer subject or not, and in this case he's not transferring it from another school, it is from the same school, so we'll select No, and we can put in the average. So if I look at the old program, we can see that the average was 92%. So that's why it's nice to be able to compare the two programs side by side. We'll put in 92% and we'll put in that it was in the previous school year and click Next and Next. So when that's finished, we can go back to the school year that it was completed in, 2013-2014, and there's our driver's ed that we manually set up. When you're doing this, you can go to the Reports screen and open the high school transcripts for your students. So if I want to look at a transcript for Racer Loyalton, I can submit this and check to see that his GPA matches and anything, any of his other subjects, make sure that they show up correctly on that screen. Okay, so a couple other follow-up points. You should check the grade conversions in the program. The default grade conversion for the new program or grading scale is a 4-point grading scale. You can see it's set to A gets a 4 points, B gets 3, C gets 2 points. In my old program, I had a 3-point grading scale. You can see A is a 3-point. So if you want to set up a different grading scale in your program, you should do that here. The next thing you should check is your academic years. Remember I said the program was going to create all of your past academic years during the import? Well, you can see all my years, all the way back to 1996, have been set up with the begin date of September 1st and the end date of June 1st. So check through these years to make sure that they're set up correctly. And then the last thing you should check is your subjects that were imported. If you go to the setup screen and click Subjects, on this screen it lists all of the subjects that you have in your school management software. All of those that are in blue are the default A.C.E. subjects. Any of those that are white are your custom subjects, or any of the subjects that were imported from the old program. Just scan through this list looking specifically at those white subjects to make sure that they're entered correctly. What you should see is a whole list of subjects that the subject type just says imported subjects. So here's physical education, and its subject type is just imported subjects. So that happens during the import when it doesn't know what subject type to put them in. So you can change this. If you double click a subject, you can edit it and change the subject type to electives, in this case for physical education, and save that. This is very important because this subject type controls how the subjects appear on the transcript. So you don't want art, for example, just showing up as an imported subject on your transcript. That doesn't make any sense. You need to specifically set the subject types for all of your subjects after the import utility. The very last thing to remember about the STMS data import is before the import starts, it actually creates a backup of your records. If you go to the home screen and click Backup Restore, you can see all of the backups from the program. And here's the one, this one here at the top of the list, says Import Backup. So this one is a copy of your records before you did the import utility. So if you go through your imported records and you find a bunch of problems, you can, if you choose, go to here and restore your old backup so that it wipes out your imported students and you can just import them over again if you have some problems you want to correct. That's all of the details about the STMS data import. Remember to reference the manual for the specific steps on how to do that and the follow-up steps after the import has been run. In summary, the import utility does the bulk of the work for you by copying over all the records. But you still need to take some time to make sure all of the records were configured properly for your new school.